Welcome to another bright day. I don't know. I think this is why you should not buy cheap lip gloss or cheap makeup materials. I think, because everything was fine, yeah, and then I don't know, maybe it fell, but I don't remember dropping it either. But I just started noticing that the lip gloss, is leaking from, like, the body of the container is always like smeared, and I've tried to clean it and set it up right, but it keeps on leaking. So anyway, that's what you get for buying no name, no brand makeup product. Doesn't really bother me, except I just don't like the texture of the lip gloss on the bottle, or the texture of it on my hand and all of that. But aside that, welcome to the chat today. Today I have my book with me. My book I got, in this latest book collection that I bought. Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm, or the Brothers Grimm Fairy Tales. So I'm going to be reading from this. I'm going to read it from here. Like, I've started it with my chat, like, you know, started this in September, and we used to read the stories. Like, I would read the stories, everybody would pay attention, and then just and discuss about, like, a possible lesson that we might glean from, the stories that I read out here. So that is just what I'm going to do today. But first of all, what is what pressing on my mind is what is going on in Gaza currently. And so far the update now is that um there have been over 30 countries, or 30 ships, 30 vessels were on their way to deliver aid to Gaza, and, baby formula, milk, and food to starving people of Gaza. And the first time a flotilla first went, Greta was on it, and she was abducted, but just because there's a lot of um visibility on Greta, which I give her so much credit for. There's so much visibility on her, so they could not really harm her, but they just, abducted her. And they were like, no, we stopped her from, getting to the people of Gaza, and now we are sending her back to her country. And it's like, okay, okay. And now she's on another, trip with a lot more people, like, that are willing to put their lives and their reputations and their everything at risk to make sure the people of Gaza, know that the rest of the world is rooting for them, to make them get food. Okay, food. You cannot starve a population out. Like, you don't, like, when one country can do that to a group of people, or when they power, they're not even a country, they're just settlers, strangers in somebody else's land. If a stranger can come into another person's land and starve them to death as a means of warfare, you know what can they not do to anybody else? You understand? So like, I feel very, 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 very happy, to see somebody with so much with a voice like Greta's. There are a lot of other, volunteers that are on that, they're on these ships and all of that, and from different countries, yeah, and they're risking everything that they know to come to just, abide by their principles of human rights, and how every human being deserves, dignity, deserves to live a full life on in their own land. Yeah. So anyways, last night I was following the situation, and there were like over 30 vessels, and Israel managed to intercept, you know I think a third of them or something. I'm not really, numbers keep changing, but Israel was able to, like, intercept a few of them. And hello Dash, welcome to the chat. They were able to intercept a few of them, yeah. But there are still a number of them still on their way, right? I don't know if they, by now, 1 hour ago, the last time I checked, some of them could, you know um get sight of, Gazan, like, shores. Like, they're not so far away anymore. I don't speak Hindi, Dash. I don't speak in Hindi, I speak English. So I'm just happy to see that, despite it all, like, actual human beings are not waiting for some so-called government. Like, we have come to realize that the so-called thing that they called democracy is just an excuse. Hello Obi, hi, welcome to the chat. It's just an excuse for a group of people to seize power, and then, create um bureaucratic walls, that ordinary people would not be able to climb over, you get, as long as they are in those seats of power. Yeah. So anyways, I'm so happy to see that aid might get to Gaza. Like finally, those babies are no longer, going to starve. I'm just hoping by the end of this life, I'm still going to go and check it. Then again, another thing is that this I'm streaming from Nigeria. Another thing again to notice is that that I wanted to mention is that Greta's, like the vessel that was carrying Greta and some other volunteers were intercepted, and she was taken by the Israeli forces. And then again, there's another ship holding. Thank you, Obi. Thank you. There's another ship holding this person. Even an Irish senator, went aboard one of these vessels and decided to go, and as an Irish senator, there's a lot of administrative and bureaucratic, power he has, so if anything happens to him, there is no way these people are going to, like, the visibility on him would prevent the madness of these Israeli forces, and all of that. So I'm so glad that at least some influential peoples are on that vessel, and they are, putting everything on the line. They're willing to use their visibility, they're willing to use everything that they have and stand by their principles of how every human being deserves, the right to live on their own land. Okay, so I like that update, although my heart is still kind of, I'm a bit anxious. I just want at least let some of the ships get to Gaza and let these people have, a little bit of relief from the horrors of being starved to death by, settlers in their land. So anyways, I just wanted to say that, I just wanted to acknowledge that we don't live in a vacuum. Yeah, I'm in Lagos right now, from Lagos. So we don't live in a vacuum, okay? Like everything is connected to every starved, I said, not starved to death, starved, like starvation, famine, hunger, artificial hunger, I'm making this known here, like we don't live in a vacuum. You get everything, like the actions of other people, eventually they would reach you wherever you are in the world. And it's like, if we cannot stand up and make noise for people that are being treated this way, what is the assurance that these people are not still going to come and do that to you as well? So it's better, you stand up for somebody, putting yourself in those shoes, you get in their shoes, and like, speaking up. Because then when your time comes, because eventually the thing about evil people is that they never stay in one place. Okay, they evolve, and they spring up in different parts of the world. And most of them spread their rhetoric, their ideology. Now that we have social media and all the so-called debates and all of that, they use it to spread like this kind of rhetoric, to encourage people that have so much power already to squeeze the life out of the people that are trying to survive. Yeah. So anyways, I am going to keep on like mentioning the whole situation anytime I come on live. I'm going to, no matter what, I'm going to give you my channel. Yeah, I'm an alien, Sonic. You're seeing an alien for the first time, be happy. So anytime I come on my live, you're going to hear like update about it. And I just want to say cheers to Greta, you know cheers to Greta and Obi. I'm actually getting to that. You understand? I'm actually getting to that. But I just want to say what I have to say about this issue, because this is not the first time I'm talking about it. And if you are new to my channel, go check my other live streams. I constantly make videos critiquing Nigeria. I have a whole live dedicated to critiquing Nigeria. Check my videos from last week. I just talked about the whole Dangote issue. So I speak about, see, everybody will collect in my in my life. Like, I'm not going to keep quiet about the evils going on in my country, and I'm going to critique the evils in my country. Okay, but I'm not just going to play dumb and deaf to the fact that international events will affect us. It doesn't matter where we are from or where we live. International event is going to like trickle down to us wherever we are. So anyways, I just want to cheer up Greta Thunberg for what she's doing. She's a very admirable person. Somebody was even making some kind of snarky comment about her, that, oh, she has so much privilege, and she's because she has privilege, that's why she can use that she can go on, she can attack Israel or do things to Israel. And I'm like, that is the point of having privilege. That's the beauty of having privilege. Having privileges even should allow you to emphasize issues. Okay, different color, how it's lip gloss, bro. Or I don't know what you are. It's a lip gloss, and I wear what I like. I like what I wear. That's why it's on my face. So it is. I feel like I would know the type of arrest on you. Sorry, I don't understand your question, Obi. That is the point of lip glosses. I don't understand your question, Obi. Explain yourself. Like, I don't understand that question. What do you mean by arrest? What does that mean? So, anyways, I just wanted to praise Greta Thunberg. I just want to give her all her props, and also, the other people that may not have such, visibility in social media, but still decide to put themselves at risk. Also, the countries, that sent off citizens, you get to. I don't think that's important. Will be the countries that sent off citizens, to that had citizens participate in this humanitarian trip, to Gaza. Those countries, they are speaking out for their citizens, even though their government is playing coward. Even though their government is pretending they don't see what is going on because they have so much, like, like, how to call it? They have this much inter so they have this much intermingling, policies here, and they don't want to offend Israel, or they don't want to offend America, stuff like that, yeah. So anyways, if you say things like this, will I now tell you where I'm from, Obi? Also, I don't appreciate threats. If you want to make threats here, like, I'd rather you find your square roots if you are serious about threats. And if it's a joke, please, I don't appreciate threats. So anyways, that's what I wanted to say. The second thing I want to talk about is this news I saw. It's about my country, Nigeria, and I saw this news where the women and the little girls that were like rescued from Boko Haram. I've not confirmed the source, but it's the news I saw. This was yesterday, October 1st, Nigeria's Independence Day. Is that these women that were rescued were giving back to these nefarious people in this nefarious group. They're giving back, and it's like, wow, who is surprised that women's rights are not championed in a country like Nigeria? Who is surprised that women are still used as bargaining chips with and between men that have immense power and will never be affected by the consequences of their action? Who knew? Who is surprised? It's not beauty is a joke, because I know they take off one who talk. Okay, so I'm glad that it's a joke, but please, because you are new to the channel, I guess, and you're not regular. So when you say things like that, I just take it as a threat, like, because I don't really know you, I'm not familiar with you and all that. So please don't say words like that. Thank you very much. So it's like, who is surprised that women are still used as bargaining chips between powerful men, powerful people that will never face the consequences of their insensitive actions, their inhumane actions? Who thought? Who thought? And of course, it is women in the north, in northern Nigeria, that are like very, very much victimized by the system. They are not really the only time you see them very like front and center in the news is when maybe some random governor's wife wants to do what do you call it, help. They want to do humanitarian, they want to be, what do they call it, charity. When they want to do charity, they want to make themselves look good on under the images of their husbands or the people, or the things that they've done in the past. They will now go and say, oh, we're helping women in the north, we are doing this for the women in the north. Meanwhile, if you go to the north, there are so many volunteer and charity agencies that have been hijacked, by people that just want to use it as a means of getting, foreign resources from foreign help, and it never trickles down to the communities that they represent. You understand? So I think that the issue of northern women in this country is something that I feel there has to be a whole movement about it. I feel like the women in the north are being subjugated by society, by their culture, by their religion. And when people talk about it, there's this insensitivity where people say, oh, they choose to be Muslims, because they are Muslims, their religion allows them. And it's like, even your own Christian religion is not freeing you from the stress of misogyny and sexism and oppression of the sexes. It's not freeing you, so you can't really put your mind. Also, the women that are raised in as Muslims, they are raised from children, they are indoctrinated. It's not as if they really have a choice, to choose their religion. You understand? Hello, Obi. Hi, hi, hi. So it's not as if they have a choice to choose the religion they grow up to. They are taught, they are indoctrinated, and they're not even given options. You understand? Like, compared to someone that lives, in not the northern part of the country. At least, even if the person grows up and decides, oh, I don't want to be a Christian anymore, they can still like choose that. You understand? Although Muslim women also as well, Muslim women in this country, it is difficult for them to change their religion because again they are women. Okay, they are subjugated by the religion and the codes of their religion, and so choosing to be, even the men are not entirely safe when they change religion, but women like suffer extreme consequences for refusing their religion. So you can't really say those women chose to be Muslims, or and they don't want to be Christians, or they don't want to give their life to Christ. That's not how it works. There's something called social structures here, and the social structures for the people living in the north places women at the bottom of the list. Yeah, they are trampled by all. Even little boys can trample on a grown adult woman in the north. Yeah, they can trample on adult women's lives in the north, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. That's just the way it is over there. So I feel like there has to be some conversation. We have to talk about the ugliness of the women, the suffering that women in the north of this country are facing. You understand? And we see it, this thing that they did, this negotiation they did with these women, that they send them back to their captors, to their to their traffickers. They send them back to is just like a symptom of the disease. It's not actually the main problem. It's not the issue of, oh, Boko Haram is the problem or the government. No, it's a symptom of a disease, of this the life that those women are born into, and it feels like a predestination for them at this point here, which is not true. It is artificial. I don't know. I don't feel like I want to say that today, actually. Yeah, maybe another time I'll talk about it, but for now, I don't talk about that. I'm just in Nigeria, basically. Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, those are the things I wanted to like speak upon, and I feel like later on the stream, because we still have a long way to go. Yeah, later on the stream, I might still bring up the issue, about like privilege, and how access to like privileges, is supposed to even make you more enthusiastic towards doing wonderful things for society, like performing in things like what Greta is doing. If nobody is holding your source of income to the stake at the stake, if nobody is going to come and kick you out of your home tomorrow, because you are privileged, you are wealthy, you have social currency and all of that visibility, yeah, why not use your voice to amplify things that people amplify the issues of people that don't have such privileges? Why not? Is that not the whole idea of philanthropy? Yeah. And I think philanthropy is now like a lost art. Before, when I was growing up, it was very popular, it was very chic to be a philanthropist. We praised a lot of people, and it was looked up to, like becoming a philanthropist. Yeah. But now in the media, in the and that time we didn't even have things like social media, so most people were like raw dogging donations, trying to raise donations and all that. Even though those people too, they are from privileges, but they had to like host campaigns for donations and all of that funding. um hello artist Dudley, welcome to the chat. They had to, everybody subscribe subscribe. They had to raise funds, this, even if it would have it would be easy for them, them being celebrities or them being socialites, you get. I'm fine, artist, welcome to the chat. Yeah, even them being all of that, yeah. It was just like a giving, that of course I'm going to donate to charity, of course I'm going to set up a foundation, you get, and all of that. And also there also has to be a conversation of how most charity foundations by extremely wealthy people are just like a cover, to escape tax funding, to escape taxations, to escape income tax and all of that. The government does not tax donations. I'm good, thanks Jesus. Thanks to Jesus. Hope all is well with you and your family. Yes, thank you, Dudley. Thank you, artist, for asking. Yeah, everybody's fine over here. I'm happy to hear that you're also fine. I hope you're having a lovely day today. And if you want to contribute to the conversations, to the conversation, you are free. Everybody should feel free to contribute to the conversation. Yeah. Um. Thank you, Dudley. So, what was I saying? I was talking about how um there has to be this conversation about how a lot of socialites, use wealthy socialites, use charity foundations, donations, all of that to escape tax taxing and all of that. I would have to see you, like, I don't know. I have to see you a bit more to give you that position for now. But thank you for volunteering. I'll think about it. You understand? And also, being a moderator means, like, I don't know if you'd have an issue with my topic that I talk about. I talk about a lot of things that some people generally do not agree with, and you mentioning Jesus. I'm not a Jesus person, so I don't know if you would be, open to discussions about where Jesus is not the center of the conversation, or I don't believe in Jesus and all of that. So I don't know. Just that is why I have to be careful about picking moderators. But thank you for volunteering. I'll think about it. Um, yeah. So I was talking about how those things socialites use it to escape, a lot of economic, like, censorship. Okay. Thank you, Dudley. I'll think about it. Yeah. But thank you for offering. I'll keep it in mind. Yeah. So I was talking about how growing up, yeah, I don't know, everybody looked up to being a philanthropist, looked up to philanthropy, and some people aspire to be philanthropists as well. So anyways, now that we have social media, now that we have, like, social media, basically, because social media, has changed the trajectory of our world. Whatever trajectory it was on has been shifted because of this landscape of social media. Yeah. And it's like, now that people are online and obviously getting so much, are becoming privileged overnight with social currency, visibility, access to, like, resources, unconventional source streams of income that, rarely get threatened. You would think these people would, like, you think these people would be more, like, more people would be open to the idea of philanthropy, more people would be open to the idea of becoming an activist. You don't have to work, you can just be an activist, and your money is still coming the normal way. You can spend your money, on humanitarian projects. You can just pick one and just do, and all of that. But it is now as if the social media has become the ball and chain around people's neck now. You get. Thank you, artists. Thank you so much for that message. Everybody subscribe. So I was talking about how social media, instead of it to become this avenue, for people to find freedom in their internal lives and all of that. Now it has become like this chain around people's necks. This reason why I can't speak on this issue, because so people will not like it. The people that, so the people that sponsor me would not like it. And so we have to now get into the aspect of the idea of sponsorships and, like, ads and all of that. And it's like, yes, even if I talk about how I don't put the blame entirely on the hello Eli, I don't put the blame entirely on what do you call them, on these singular influencers. Yeah, just speaking, artist gone. Okay. So I don't put the blame on one person, because at the end of the day, social media does not exist in a vacuum. Okay, it was supposed to be this wonderful new thing that, we give ourselves as human beings, but now it has turned into, like, it has been co-opted by these same powerful forces that has always been through the dawn of time. These powerful forces, people that climb the ladder, that oppress people and exploit different kinds of groups of people, to get the money that they have, to get the wealth that they enjoy, the position that they enjoy in society. After exploiting people like that, it's not enough to achieve those things. It's now the next thing for them to do now is to begin to control everything else, and that is why the idea of even God and all of that. Hello, Code Hearted, welcome to the chat. How was your night? The idea of God and all of that, I think, is also something that, if you look at it, it is very parallel. Like it's like a it's like a manual, it's like a manual that most people aspire to. You get, most of these wealthy people aspire to. They look at the story of God and who God is and how God came to be, and how, this one person, this one, not person, but this one entity, you know has been calling the shot over the entire universe for decades. Like, not for decades, for time, from time immemorial, because God does not live, in time. That manual of it all. Most people that are now calling themselves, like, most, not calling themselves, but most people that amass, the wealth of billions and all of that, if you look at them, the way they behave as if, like, they speak as if, they implement changes on the world as if, they are God. Like, in some reality, in their own reality, they act like they are God, you know and you see them saying things like, I'm using AI because I'm creating AI because I want to, I want to cure cancer. And how many years has AI started, destroying the earth, and we still have no cure in sight from these people, you know? And then we see all these, like, Palantir by this guy, what's his name? Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel going around talking about how, he wants to, create a world, create a world that exists in this way. He wants to create a world that runs in this way. And it's like, who the hell do you think you are to call the shots over an entire planet? Who the hell do you think you are? Just because you have money, just because you have access to resources and, bureaucracy and administrative, figureheads, to control them and puppet them, to pull strings of everybody else's lives. Who the hell do you think you are? And that is why the concept of God, it will always be revealed to just be fiction. Okay, it is just somebody somewhere, or a group of people somewhere, that just concocted, a story about an entity, just because they wanted to make sense of the world that they were living in. And the idea of God also emphasizes this control. Okay, this need for control, or the the possession of control. Yeah. And so somebody that writes a story about how, this person that has the ultimate control has your best interest at heart, even though they commit several atrocities and they continue to ignore, the horrors that goes on in the same world. It's just like somebody that has, like, a disorder, a mental disorder, you get, and the cause of their disorder is their fear of what? Control. Okay, it's just like that. And it's like, okay, instead of driving myself crazy, let me create a god in my mind, and let that god be the one controlling things, instead of me to, like, go through the issues that I'm facing in my own personal mind. Let me focus on, this thing I have created, this idol I have created and assumed as my god. Okay. And so if you look at people like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, all of them, they are all acting as if, and even the British politicians, they are all acting as if, um they are pulling the strings on, like, the entire world. Like, they're just pressing a button. Like, they're not even, they cannot even, they can no longer be able to conceptualize the idea that there are actual human beings, living with them in the same world. They just act as if people are numbers, people are creatures, things that, have to listen to them, and bow to them and be subservient to them and all of that. And it's just like, if you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to make your life harder. And it's like, even when you do what, but the issue with human beings now is that even when you do what they ask you, they are still going to make your life harder. So what's the point of pretending that you can get to a middle ground with these people? Just disobey. Just, do what you want to do. Stick by your principles. And, whatever they want to do, at the end of the day, it's not as if they're going to do anything on your behalf either. You get. So from vessels delivering aid to Gaza. I'm talking about them because I'm spotlighting them, and I'll continue to spotlight them and follow the issue on ground there, so that, I just want to give it a voice. Okay, I'm not that, big or whatever, and I don't think it's a matter of, having something to lose. You get, which I was talking about into the tangent about billionaires, and then I got lost in the God issue and all of that. So back to those people, like I was saying, I was not blaming, like I don't want to entirely blame the singular figures, the singular public figures. I don't want to entirely blame them, you know, because they have assumed their livelihood to a corporate brand, forgetting that at the end of the day, whether you're working inside the office of this corporate brand or you're working outside of this corporate brand or outside the office in an unconventional workplace like social media platforms, you are still dispensable. Okay, you are still disposable. You are nothing but a number to these companies. All right, if anything were to go wrong in your life right now, if anything were to happen to you, if you were to, no longer exist, they'll just replace you. So why do you feel like they are the ones, controlling your voice? They were not there when you were building your platform. They were not there when you were struggling so hard, to create your own community. They were not there when you were standing by your so-called, like, presenting your beliefs and taking a stand, and building community and making people, all these people, trust in you. Yeah, good-hearted. No, they're not there. They're not there when you were doing all of that for yourself, and you did that yourself. Whether you are working under an illusion right now, you did that yourself. But why is it that when you now get to the point where these companies are like, oh, I've seen one flashlight that can shine the light on my products, you now feel as if you owe your entire existence to them? Let me tell you, with or without their sponsorship, you will be fine. Okay, you'll be fine. And I don't know why, they put themselves in this bubble that, oh, I can't speak on this thing. If I speak on this thing, I'll lose my role in a fucking horror movie that nobody gives a fuck about, and people just use it as Halloween costumes. If I speak out, they will dump me from. And it's like, so what? When you were having this dream to be an actor or a public figure, who was the company that inspired that dream in your head? Who put that dream in your mind? Who made you, like, toil and work hard and get to this point where they can even pick you to be, in their stupid production? Who did that for you? You did that yourself. Okay, so where do you now come up saying that, oh, if I stand by, the principled things, if I speak up for my fellow human beings, this shitty production is going to drop me and I will not work anymore? It's like, who told you that? Who told you that you will not work anymore? You understand? Who gave you that impression that you wouldn't work anymore? And it's like, we also have to release this idea of success, and this is something that I'm preaching to the choir. Okay, I'm the one that is preaching to myself. This definition of success, we grew up in, and I think for a lot of the people that are in my age range, or like people that we see right now, I wouldn't know about people before me, but people that we see right now, we grew up to meet, or we're born into a capitalist consumerist society where your only value is attached to your productivity. Your value is attached to how you contribute to society. You understand? And it's like, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Your very existence is a how to call this scientific term, when you can, like, um disprove, like, a theory, or whatever. Like, your very existence is complete, dismantling of that idea that, oh, your productivity equals to your value, your worth, why you deserve to be here, okay, on this earth. You understand? Like, we grew up, so now we have attached numbers. Now it's even more intense. You cannot just enjoy music anymore. Some clown in your ear will be like, but where did they rank in Spotify, whatever? How many listeners do they have in Spotify? Oh, are they number one on Billboard? How many Grammys have they won? Like, it's affecting my country seriously right now. This Grammy talk, this numbers talk, this nonsense talk, affecting every sector of creativity that I grew up, aspiring to, and enjoying. So that's what I'm saying. We grew up in such society, in such a system. You get, and being born into the system, we begin to delude ourselves. It's not like we do it consciously, because it is what we are indoctrinated into, but like, we sort of get into this delusion, that we think that why we feel good about ourselves, why we are depressed about ourselves, is because of a productivity that we performed, or the way we're able to be productive, or the way we're not productive. You get, oh, we feel bad because, I don't have a job, there's nothing I'm doing with my life right now. Okay. And then you feel like, oh, I've made it because I have a house, I have a car, I have iPhone 15, iPhone 20. Like, all of those things are just like a setup. Okay. It is an architecture we are working on, and this architecture is crumbling to pieces. We need to let it fall and then create our own system, create another thing. This system cannot just keep going on. Okay. But so somebody that has done these wonders for themselves, and brought themselves to this level of independence and freedom from the so-called things that they told us: if you don't have a job, you don't have money, you die, and all of that. You admire yourself to this status in society, and then you think somebody that came to meet you in this final lab, when you have crossed the finish line, someone now come and start telling you how to spend your money or what to talk about. Somebody to come and put a gag on you. Why? How? They can't. They need you. They've always needed you. This system cannot exist without harbingers. Okay, harbingers are kind of like, what you call them? They're like living dead sentinels. Like, they're living dead carriers of something. Yeah, they're always carrying something, but they are like dead. They're not like here with us. Okay, so when what happens that makes us feel as if this system is real? Yeah, it's designed to control us. Of course, it's designed to put a gag on us. Yes, that is the whole point of the system. Okay, but this system, the reason why it might feel a bit daunting to people is because they feel like it has, or they can't see a world outside of the system. They can't picture a world that can exist, without such systems, and so they cower, they hide, they pretend not to see, they stay gagged, they stay silenced, and continue to take the money that is supposed to be a symbol of value. It's supposed to help you live in this, survive in this world. Yeah. So that's the system. But like, one thing I like to preach the most here is on familiarity. Okay, so I was talking about my own idea of success too. I had to unlearn this. I think I'm still in the process of releasing such ideologies. I'm still in the process of letting go of those false ideologies that the system has fed to me, like, since I was a fetus. Not since I was born, basically. Yeah. System has fed me these lies, and it's like, fine, okay, if someone asks me, okay, what's the solution? I don't know the solution, but we cannot start from where we cannot just like start from the idea that there's no solution. That's what we have to brainstorm now. That is what the new world is bringing to us. It's not bringing to us. That's how we can enter into a new world. Okay. People think a new world will come when some God comes and drag you out of the earth without your consent, without your knowledge, without any planning. They just don't want to do the work of moving into a new world. That's why a lot of people hang on to the rapture so bad, and every time period you just see a group of people just start the collective, hysteria that, oh, rapture is coming today. Rapture. When I was in which class, and rapture was announced, and overnight, me and my classmates, not me, I was sleeping that night, but they were waking me up. They're like, stand up, let's pray for the rapture. The rapture will take us tomorrow. We have to pray for God to forgive us. I said, okay, if God forgive you when you pray, why do we have to keep praying from like 12 till 4 in the morning? Like, why can't you just say it once and go to bed? Like, we have to be up by 6 tomorrow. Anyways, nothing happened the next day, but there was collective hysteria. It was intense. So now again, seeing it repeat itself in this so-called age that was supposed to be very modern, like very technologized, in like human beings. Yeah, people are still falling into the collective hysteria of rapture because they are desperate. They are tired of this world. They want to go into a new world, a new era. But it's about moving into a new world. You have to move. The world is not going to come and swallow you without your consent. The world is not going to come and spoon feed you newness. You have to go. Time is not going to come and save you from your horror of being stuck in this old system, this archaic, dying, crumbling system. You are going to have to walk with your two legs into the new world. Nobody's going to come and lift you without your consent. You get? Nobody's going to lift you without your like your intellectual anticipation. You get? Nobody's going to come and lift you like that without. No, it's going to be an active process. And I feel like, even if it doesn't look like much, okay, even if it doesn't look like a lot, you get, this whole thing where literal government that we read as children, that, oh, this government was like, no more, you know of the Holocaust. We're going to fight the people that are performing the Holocaust. You get? We're going to fight them. We read textbooks where they said, oh, we are going to fight them. We now grew up and we're witnessing another thing, another genocide going on. And the so-called government that stood up back then, that we thought the government was on our side, that government now is folding their hands and pretending to looking away, telling us nothing is wrong, sit still. Okay, so I feel like, in this age, as much as social media is an issue, I feel like I also appreciate the presence of social media, because without us seeing this thing for ourselves, we could have been lulled into a false sense of safety that, oh, maybe it's been exaggerated, oh, maybe it's fake news. But we're seeing it for ourselves. We're hearing like individual reports from people. We are seeing people that lose their lives in real time, and now we're also seeing people in real time standing up against their government at the risk of their tenures, at the risk of their job, at the risk of their citizenship, at the risk of their own safety for their lives. Okay, they are standing up. They're standing up. They're saying, no, if you will not do it, I will do it. I will do it. I will go. Okay, and that's why we have to keep on giving the voices to people like, people that are on these ships, people that are speaking up, people that are holding a strike. There's a strike all over Italy. Italy that was making noise that, oh, I will send our drone, I'll do this when, if Israel intercepts us. It, Italy was doing all of that nonsense talk. Now that they got to the point where Israel is intercepting them, the government says, let us listen to Israel. Let it not be that deep. Let's just come back home. I'm like, come back to where? What home? What home do you promise me when you can look away, when my life is at risk? What home am I coming back to? I don't have a home. And the people of Italy, of course, they're not wusses like the government here. So they stood up. And they have shut down several parts of the country. Workers, the people that actually put you there in that so-called position, they are the ones that are fighting for other human beings. Since you will not do it, I will do it. It's very simple. I'll do it. Don't worry. Don't do anything. Sit down there as a figurehead and make sure you know that you are a figurehead, so that tomorrow you start implementing policies and laws. We tell you we don't want it. You cannot talk because you pretended to be a figurehead when it was very vital for you to speak up. So train stations have been shut down in different parts of Greece is protesting. Even Germany is protesting. German citizens, I'm not talking about their government, citizens. I think it's only Colombia that has actually expelled Israeli diplomats from their country. Like, go! What are you doing here? What are you doing diplomacy for in our country? Like, do you even know the meaning of diplomacy? Why are you here? Go! So Colombia stood on business. Colombia chased them, and I know. Okay, no, that's another country. So Colombia is standing on business and go away. So tell me, who is the so-called bastion of democracy and the free world? Who? We have to redefine freedom for ourselves now. How can I be in a position where I have amassed, such level of privilege and access to resources, and I still cannot just say the thing I want to say? I cannot just speak on my own platform. Like, who are you to tell me not to speak? Like, where have we gotten to this point? You get, where with such a platform you still feel gagged. So either you are actively a believer in the genocide taking place and you want it to happen, that's the only reason I believe you pretend to be gagged by your so-called sponsors, and this casting director is not going to give me a job if I speak up on the issue. Oh my god, celebrities are saying that it's not true. Oh, this celebrity said this thing today, so that is why. I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. You don't even know what you're talking about. Just pretend that. Just keep on pretending like that, okay? Just keep on pretending like that. Just keep on. Don't come out and be taking back what you said. Like Jennifer Lawrence, this week she came out and she was like, it's so it's, what did she use? The word she used, it was, I think it was humiliating. She said She said it was humiliating, for like just what people, stand by and watch this other country. They're not a country. I watch a group of foreigners, destroy people in their own house. Like, it's humiliating. Meanwhile, she has already said something to the effect of supporting said settlers, last year, I think 2024, defending it even. You get, and it's like, and there's a lot of people on her case, like, not on her case, but a lot of supporters that be like, finally she spoke out. I'm like, I'm not waiting for anybody to speak out, though. I'm not waiting for you to speak out. Like, if you don't want to speak out, fine. I will focus my energy on the people that speak out, people that, stand by something. I'll focus my energy on them. I'll give them visibility. I won't waste my energy, criticizing those losers. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus my energy on people that care. Okay, because as much as we like to, speak up and and all of that, you get, at some point now, a lot of attention is now given to, negativity, is given to stunted progress, it's given to the failures, and yes, those deserve attention. But for me personally, yeah, I want to focus on the movement. I want to focus on the progress that we are making as a species. Okay, we are all human beings here. I want to focus on that. So I'll continue to highlight like the whole movement here to get Gazans food, baby formula, so babies will not die. Okay, before it was like, oh, we don't touch women and children. No, women and children are off the table. Now literal babies are starving to death. Literal babies are starving to death. Children are starving to death. So, like, I don't know, I feel like at this point in humanity, as much as everything looks very, very chaotic, and as if we're in a dark tunnel and we are not seeing any lights, ahead of us, I feel like we are also on the cusp of a new world, basically. I don't know, that's not a conspiracy theory. Okay, it's not conspiracy. I'm not going to start telling you this and that. I'm just going to say that we are on the cusp of the new world. But the thing about coming into the new world is that we don't all share the same reality. Okay, we don't all share the same. I have to be honest. We don't all share the same reality, and so I will go. I will take myself into the new world. But some people can stay in the old world. Okay, we don't have to move together. That's the thing. That's the issue when people try to make like this kind of, we don't have to move together. Don't worry, don't move with me. Stay in the world that you're comfortable with. Me, I'm ready to move to the new world. And I'm not waiting on a God to come and take me from my sleep. I'm not waiting for a God that wants me to be deserving of a heaven before they take. No, I'm not for any God. I'll take myself to the new world. I'm a pathfinder, okay? I find new paths. And the thing about a new road is that it will be uncertain, it will be unfamiliar. Maybe I'll come across scary things. Maybe different things can show up on my path that I've never encountered before. But I have to trust myself, okay? Because I came to this world by myself, okay? I came to this world by myself. So my decision to move to the new world, has to rest on only me. I don't need any supplies. I will go. I'll go. And again, another thing about revolutions and discussions of revolutions is that a lot of people think a revolution will come in this whole, like the French Revolution, the way people were thrown out from, like, the monarchy was hung in the street. A lot of people think revolution comes from a whole buzz of activity. But me personally, my belief about revolutions is that it happens when nobody's seeing. Like, not seeing, but when nobody's paying attention to it. You get, when you are so busy being yourself, living your life, and looking at the things that you care about, that's when revolution happens. Okay, it's just like a breeze, it's just a shift in the wind, and things have changed completely. Okay, that's why I sometimes, when I get so stressed about the way the world is and the news I'm seeing everywhere, I don't. I take time to decompress. I take time to decompress. I shift back, and I go do something else. I have a lot of hobbies, man. I have a lot of hobbies. So I participate in one of my hobbies. I sleep. I wake up. I read books. And I remind myself that no matter what, you can't stop change. The only reason why we exist now is because we have been changing. Earth will continue to change. Earth will continue to evolve. Okay, so um we can't run away from change. All those people that, all those babas, all those 70-year-olds, septuagenarians that cannot differentiate left and right, that don't know how to even, like, they are literally oozing with sickness and death, that are making decisions for the rest of the world. All those ones, they don't scare me. They don't scare me because, like, there's one thing people think. They think they can control Earth. You don't have any control of Earth, and I think it's even a sign, that a sign of how they know, that they can't really achieve what they want before change happens. That's why they keep on. You see them, they just rushing to do nonsense. Every day you wake up, you see new policies. Every day you wake up, you see new nonsense on the news. You know, new atrocities being committed by people that are supposed to be the definers of legal and illegal. Okay, the people that are supposed to tell you what is wrong and right. The people that design the system, design the legal systems, are the ones committing the most obscene of atrocities. Okay, that's why, you know that change is coming. Okay, and when change comes, it never comes with any warning. Okay, it never comes with any warning. It doesn't tell you anything. Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't give you any sign or signal. It's just like, you just open your eyes and everything has changed. Everything has changed. There's nothing you can do also. So that's one thing I use to comfort myself, that although I'm just one person and I feel a lot of, like, I have this, immense feeling and sympathy for a lot of situations, that, I'm sensitive to a lot of all these situations here. I still have to remind myself that calm down in your sensitivity. Okay, because if your sensitivity is leading you to now become pessimistic and lead you to go down into this darkness and this what do they call it, nihilism, yeah, if it's leading you to there, just come back. Come back. Come back. You're not going to the nihilism is old as hell. Like, that's not a sign of a new world. The new world I'm traversing, the new path I'm traversing, all of those concepts don't exist today. All those concepts don't exist there. I just have to keep going. That's all I know. I just have to keep going. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I think I've gotten up to 1 hour just in, and, like, I keep going because my mind is a very wild place. Yeah, it's a very, very, very a lot of, things going on there. So if I want to follow one thread of thought, it will never stop. Like, that's why I think I opened a YouTube channel, because I wanted to do this. I wanted to be able to, follow the tangents, the trains of my thoughts. Also to meet people. Code, you can see. So my mind is a very, very wild, vast land to get, and sometimes, before I used to be scared of it. Yeah, but now I'm not scared of it. What does it want to do? I'm the one in charge here, so I'm not scared of it. Yes, it's not like as if I don't suffer sometimes, or I don't feel, stressed or pain, but, like, at the end of the day, um thank you, Cole, for liking my channel. There are a lot of things I talk about, and again, I just wanted to say that, before I came online today, I was feeling very stressed, like, in a way, because I was like, why am I seeing, nasty people on my stream, like, when I first started live streaming in September, yeah, I was just meeting very wonderful people. I wasn't meeting, like, people that are so explicitly like that. You get, and they were just very, like, kind people, nice people, respectful people. Yeah, and they showed it. They showed up on my chat, and they were, respectful, and they were cool people. And then, the numbers started climbing up, my subscribers started coming up, and also I seeing, like, it's not even, I didn't even make this connection yet to get. So when I was thinking about it today, about how um it's kind of stressing me out. Oh, Obi, I can't give you a reply for now. Sorry. So the thing about it is, like, I was kind of stressed about it. You understand? I was like, what does this mean? You get, why is it like this here? And it's like, well, if your video is being pushed to, you know, a much wider audience, you understand? Of course, there are going to be some undesirables on the stream. There are going to be some, losers, some clowns on the stream, and they're going to be, disrespectful and mannerless. And that is why there is a control button, okay? And I can always press the control button here. And it's just like, aside from that, yeah, what kind of gave me comfort is the fact that at least, it is being pushed out, you get, and my voice is being heard, even more, you understand. And I like that. I like that my voice is being heard even more. I want my voice to be heard much more, much more, much more around the world, you get. I want my voice to be heard because I have so many things to say. I have so many things to say, so I want my voice to be heard. Of course my voice is going to be heard, of course. You're sure, you have to know that my voice will be heard. And aside from my voice being heard, I will be seen. Okay, I want to be seen. I like being seen. Yeah, and being seen is a quality, is an event that is very terrifying. Okay, it's not like I came to this point easily. Yeah, it was very terrifying for me. So now I came to the whole awareness, and I became comfortable in my own skin. Okay, I stopped demonizing the things that I wanted from life. I stopped qualifying myself, saying, oh, you're not qualified for this, oh, you don't know how to do this, oh, you don't get to enjoy things like this. And it's like, yeah, those are lies. Yeah, you're lying. Even if you're in my head and you're using personal singular pronouns, that's a lie. Okay. Anyways, I just wanted to, like, you know just do that whole thing. Yeah, so just to say that I'll continue to um make peace with my presence on YouTube live streams, and I anticipate meeting even nicer people. Okay, I anticipate meeting respectful people, wonderful people that would love to share, their ideas about the things I talk about with me, that have new perspectives that I want to hear, because I'm always curious about how other people's minds work. Okay, very very curious, and I want to hear that. I want to be able to access that, as well. With that being said, that ends our session on, the whole update on the flotillas and, Gaza humanitarian aid situation. And tomorrow you can expect me to continue talking about it. But for now, the next session of this live stream will be, I don't know, are you hearing, like, is it very noisy? Is it very noisy? Are you guys, like, disturbed by a noise? My door is open. Maybe I should close it first. Books are very expensive for us normal people. In what sense? Yeah, books are expensive. Yeah, for everybody, even the ones that are deemed not normal. Books are expensive that way. Books. The expense of books does not judge, unless you need people that have wealth and all of that. Yeah, it's not noisy. Okay. Thank you. Because I'm about to read from this book. I'm going to read a fairy tale here, and I want us to kind of, you know, maybe glean lessons from it. I don't know if you are interested in things like that. I'll go ahead and read. Um, yeah, so I've already started reading it on my live streams. If you go back, you see how I've gone, like, far. And the thing I really like that made me buy this book was because of the illustrations. Of course, I enjoy books, but, like, I think it's just very pretty neat that all kind of books I wish to have them as kids, as a child. Yeah, but yeah, I could not have them, you know. So now I can buy them for myself. I don't know if you know this any blighting storybooks. I read it as a child. Like, I loved it. Every time, like, my mom was like, "What do you want for your birthday gift?" I'll be like, "Storybook." And my mom would take, and they only sold them in, like, this expensive new books shop. Yeah, so we go there for my birthday, and I'll pick, like three different, like, picture storybook or illustration storybooks. Like, oh, so happy. Yeah, so now let's start the story. Okay, so this story, the thing about this collection of Grimm's fairy tale is that some of them, I don't know, sometimes there's no real lesson I get from it. But if you read the beginning, yeah, they talk about how stories you get are like, these fairy tales are like analogies from they're not really analogies, they're more like The brothers went around, listening to old people, going to old societies, old communities to get, their own myths, their own stories, and they would listen to it, they would recount it. Some of the stories were obviously not entirely accurate, but they would write it like that, so that you can see, you can come into this wondrous world, yeah, of um that exists in this time period of the world somehow, somewhere. Maybe if it was even not real, maybe it didn't really happen, yeah. So anyways, all of that to say, there might not be a lesson here, but there might be a lesson here, and I want us to, explore it. So the title of the story is The Goose Girl. Let me read The Goose Girl for you. There was once an old queen whose husband had been dead for many years, and she had a very beautiful daughter. When she grew up, she was betrothed to a prince in a distant country. When the time came for the maiden to be sent into this distant country to be married, the old queen packed up quantities of clothes and jewels, gold and silver, cups and ornaments, and in fact everything suitable to a royal outfit, for she loved her daughter very dearly. She also sent a waiting woman to travel with her and to put her hand into that of the bridegroom. They each had a horse. The princess's horse was called Falada, and it could speak. When the hour of departure came, the old queen went to her bedroom and with a sharp little knife cut her finger and made it bleed. Then she held a piece of white cambric under it and let 3 drops of blood fall onto it. This cambric she gave to her daughter and said, "Dear child, take good care of this. It will stand you in good stead on the journey." Hello Naveen, hi, welcome to the chat. We are reading from a fairy tale book. Then they bade each other a sorrowful farewell. The princess hid the piece of cambric in her bosom, mounted her horse, and set out to her bridegroom's country. When they had ridden for a time, the princess became very thirsty and said to the waiting woman, "Get down and fetch me some water in my cup from the stream. I must have something to drink." It's a collection of fairy tales, the 60 fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. 60 fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. And we are reading The Goose Girl. That's the fairy tale we are reading right now. It starts with this queen sending her daughter off to marry a prince in another country. And she sends the daughter off with a lady in waiting, like to help her. Then before the girl leaves, she gives the girl a white cloth stained with 3 drops of her blood and says the princess should hold on to the white cloth. Okay, so the princess hides it. Now they've gone to a part of the journey where the princess is thirsty and she wants to drink water, and she asks the waiting woman to bring her water to drink. But the waiting woman says, "If you are thirsty, dismount yourself, lie down by the water and drink. I don't choose to be your servant." So, in her great thirst, the princess dismounted and stooped down to the stream and drank, as she might not have her golden cup. The poor princess said, "Alas!" And the drops of blood answered, "If your mother knew this, it would break her heart." So, the drops of blood are sentient, they are awake, they can speak as well. The royal bride was humble, so she said nothing, but mounted her horse again. Then they rode several miles further, but the day was warm and the sun was scorching, and the princess was soon thirsty again. When they reached the river, she called out again to her waiting woman, "Get down and give me some water in my golden cup." She had forgotten all about the rude words which had been said to her. But the waiting woman answered more haughtily than ever, "If you want to drink, get the water for yourself. I won't be your servant." Being very thirsty, the princess dismounted and knelt by the flowing water. She cried and said, "Ah, me!" And the drops of blood answered, "If your mother knew this, it would break her heart." While she stooped over the water to drink, The piece of cambric with the drops of blood of fell out of her bosom and floated away it floated away in the stream on the stream, but she never noticed this in her great fear. I don't know if my moderator is online, yeah, but goodbye. Floated away in her great fear. The waiting woman, however, had seen it and rejoiced at getting more power over the bride, who, by losing the drops of blood, had become weak and powerless. Now, when she was about to mount her horse Falada again, the waiting woman said, "By rights, Falada belongs to me. This jade will do for you." The poor little princess was obliged to give way. Then the waiting woman in a harsh voice ordered her to take off her royal robes and to put on her own main garments. Finally, she forced her to swear before heaven that she would not tell a creature at the court what had taken place. Had she not taken the oath, she would have been killed on the spot. But Falada saw all this and marked it. Falada is the horse, and the horse can speak. The waiting woman then mounted Falada and put the real bride on her poor jade, and they continued their journey. There was great rejoicing when they arrived at the castle. The prince hurried towards them and lifted the waiting woman from her horse, thinking she was his bride. She was led upstairs, but the real princess had to stay below. The old king looked out of the window and saw the delicate, pretty little creature standing in the courtyard. So he went to the bridal apartment and asked the bride about her companion, who was left standing in the courtyard, and wished to know who she was. "I picked her on the way and brought her with me for company. Give the girl something to do to keep her from idling." But the old king had no work for her and could not think of anything. At last he said, "I have a little lad who looks after the geese. She may help him." The boy was called Little Conrad, and the real bride was sent with him to look after the geese. Soon after, the false bride said to the prince, "Dear husband, I pray you do me a favor." He answered, "That I will gladly." "Well then, let the knacker be called to cut off the head of the horse I rode. It angered me on the way." Remember, this horse can speak. Really, she was afraid that the horse would speak and tell of her treatment of the princess. So it was settled, and the faithful Falada had to die. When this came to the ear of the real princess, she promised the knacker a piece of gold if he would do her a slight service. There was a great dark gateway to the town through which she had to pass every morning and evening. Would he nail up Falada's head in the gateway so that she might see him as she passed? The knacker promised to do as she wished, and when the horse's head was cut off, he hung it up in the dark gateway. In the early morning, when she and Conrad went through the gateway, she said in passing, "Alas, dear Falada, there thou hangest." And the head answered, "Alas, queen's daughter, there thou gangest. If thy mother knew thy fate, her heart would break with grief so great." Then they passed on out of town, right into the fields with the geese. When they reached the meadow, the princess sat down on the grass and let down her hair. It shone like pure gold, and when little Conrad saw it, he was so delighted that he wanted to pluck some out. But she said, "Blow, blow, little breeze," and Conrad's heart ceased. "Let him join in the chase, while away it is whirled, till my tresses are coiled and I rest in my place." Then a strong wind sprang up, which blew away Conrad's hat right over the fields, and he had to run after it. When he came back, she had finished combing her hair, and it was all put up again, so he could not get a single hair. This made him very sulky, and he would not say another word to her. And they tended the geese till evening, when they went home. Next morning, when they passed under the gateway, the princess said, "Alas, dear Falada, there thou hangest." Falada answered, "Alas, queen's daughter, there thou gangest. If thy mother knew thy fate, her heart would break with grief so great." This is a picture of the princess and the geese. This is the princess tending to the geese, and this is the princess golden hair, yeah, and this is Conrad in the field. I love this book so much. Anyways, moving on. Again, when they reached the meadows, the princess undid her hair and began combing it. Conrad ran to pluck some out, but she said quickly, blow, blow, little breeze. That means she's asking the breeze to blow away Conrad's hat. So if Conrad starts chasing after the hat, she'll be able to comb her hair in peace and tie it back up again. So the wind sprang up and blew Conrad's hat far away over the fields, and he had to run after it. When he came back, the hair was all put up again, and he could not pull a single hair out. And they tended the geese till evening. When they got home, Conrad went to the old king and said, I won't tend the geese with that maiden again. Why not? Asked the king. Oh, she vexes me every day. The old king then ordered him to say what she did to vex him. Conrad said, in the morning, when we pass under the dark gateway with the geese, she talks to a horse's head, which is hung up on the wall. She says, Alas, Falada, there thou hangest. And the head answers, Alas, queen's daughter, there thou gangest. If thy mother knew thy fate, her heart would break with grief so great. Then Conrad went on to tell the king all that happened in the meadow and how he had to run after his hat in the wind. The old king ordered Conrad to go out next day as usual. Then he placed himself behind the dark gateway and heard the princess speaking to Falada's head. He also followed her into the field and hid himself behind a bush. And with his own eyes, he saw the goose girl and the lad come driving the geese into the field. Then after a time, he saw the girl let down her hair, which glittered in the sun. Directly after this, she said, Blow, blow, little breeze, and Conrad's heart ceased. Let him join in the chase, while away it is whirled, till my tresses are curled and I rest in my place. Then came a puff of wind, which carried off Conrad's hat, and he had to run after it. While he was away, the maiden combed and did up her hair, and all this the old king observed. Thereupon he went away unnoticed. And in the evening, when the goose girl came home, he called her aside and asked why she did all these things. That I may not tell you, nor may I tell any human creature, for I have sworn it under the open sky, because if I had not done so, I should have lost my life. He pressed her sorely and gave her no peace, but he could get nothing out of her. Then he said, If you won't tell me, then tell your sorrows to the iron stove over there. And he went away. She crept up to the stove and, beginning to weep and lament, unburdened her heart to it, and said, Here I am, forsaken by all the world, and yet I am a princess. A false waiting woman brought me to such a pass that I had to take off my royal robes. Then she took my place with my bridegroom, while I have to do main service as a goose girl. If my mother knew it, she would break her heart. The old king stood outside by the pipes of the stove and heard all that she said. Then he came back and told her to go away from the stove. He caused royal robes to be put upon her, and her beauty was a marvel. The old king called his son and told him that he had a false bride. She was only a waiting woman, but the true bride was her, the so-called goose girl. The young prince was charmed with her youth and beauty. A great banquet was prepared, to which all the courtiers and good friends were bidden. The bridegroom sat at the head of the table with the princess on one side and the waiting woman on the other. But she was dazzled and did not recognize the princess in her beautiful apparel. When they had eaten and drunk and were all very merry, the old king put a riddle to the waiting woman. What does a person deserve who deceives his master? Telling the whole story and ending by asking, what doom does he deserve? The false bride answered, no better than this. He must be put stark naked into a barrel, stuck with nails, and be dragged along by two white horses from street to street till he is dead. That is your own doom, said the king, and the judgment shall be carried out. When the sentence was fulfilled, the young prince married his true bride, and they ruled their kingdom together in peace and happiness. End of the story. Oh my god. This story is actually interesting here because I know my mom has told me one of her folk tales, yeah. From when that she knew when she was a child. She told me a story like this. She has told me a story. I read a story like this to me, like when I was a child. Like what my parents used to do is that when we are children, like, in the night, yeah, as children, they would gather us around. We'll be outside under the moon and the stars, and they'll be like, "Tell us a story, tell us a story." And my dad will tell us stories sometimes. My mom will tell us stories sometimes. And my mom's stories were so scary because my mom knows how to tell a good story, yeah. So she told us the story that she told us was exactly like this, but it was different, yeah. Obviously, it's not the same thing. Not it's just about two women, yeah. And I think I don't remember it clearly, but I think it was it this one or there was another one? I'll ask her today if there's another story like this one. Maybe not. I don't think it's exactly. Now I think about it, it's not exactly. But like this story, how did you enjoy it? How did you like it? I like the story. I don't know the lesson here because it's very cut and dry. Like, yeah, don't take somebody else's place at the end of the day, don't steal somebody's position and cause them to suffer or whatever. But like, kind of a very straightforward moral story. Yeah, that's the story of Goose Girl. But I want to hear from you. What do you think about the story? Did you even hear the story well? I feel like the noise was kind of coming in too loud. There's this other one here. The Adventures of Chanticleer and Patlet. But all these kind of adventure stories should be too long. Oh, so there's Green Rapunzel here. Should we read about Rapunzel? Everybody knows the story of Rapunzel, yeah? And some people might just know this Disney movie Tangled, yeah? I really love Tangled. Tangled was so interesting to me. Like, I never expected the story to go that way because I was like, I know the story of Rapunzel, yeah? But yeah, this is Rapunzel by Green Brothers. Let me see. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The same whole whatever. Let's look for a story that we don't know. And again, you know that the Green Brothers are Dutch men. I don't know exactly. Maybe they are German. I'm not sure, but I know they are Dutch men, and you can see it in the stories that they tell. The title of this one now is Fundy Vogel. I know what Vogel is. I've forgotten. Should I read the second story? If you are interested, say I'm interested. If you like the other story, say I enjoy the other story. I'll wait for you to respond. I really like these illustrations. Illustrations are fun. I'm waiting for your reply. If you don't want me to read the story, let me know. Or if you like the story, let me know at all. Story of the Goose Girl. Oh, I think I might end up reading this book the entire year. You know, I might end up reading this book the entire year. Okay. Let me just keep reading, just in case like somebody else is joining the stream and all of that. So this story I'm going to read now is titled Fund Vogel. Okay, thank you, Code, for that. Fund Vogel. Um, Noise. There was once a forester who went into the woods to hunt, and he heard a cry like that of a little child. He followed the sound and at last came to a big tree where a tiny child was sitting high up on one of the top branches. The mother had gone to sleep under the tree, and a bird of prey, seeing the child on her lap, had flown and carried it off in its beak to the top of the tree. The forester climbed the tree and brought down the child, thinking to himself, I will take it home and bring it up with my own little Lena. So he took it home, and the two children were brought up together. The foundling was called Fundivogel because it had been found by a bird. Is Vogel, does Vogel mean bird then? Fundivogel and Lina were so fond of each other that they could not bear to be out of each other's sight. Now, the forester had an old cook who one evening took two pails and began carrying water. She did not go once, but many times, backwards and forwards to the well. Lina saw this and said, "Dear me, Sana, why are you carrying so much water? If thou wilt not tell anyone, I will tell thee why." Lina said no, she would not tell anyone. So then the cook said, "Tomorrow morning early, when the forester goes out hunting, I am going to boil the water, and when it bubbles in the kettle, I am going to throw Fundevogel into it to boil him." Next morning, the forester got up very early and went out hunting, leaving the children still in bed. Okay, see the illustration of the old woman with the bucket. And this is Lina here. I don't know if you can see her looking at her fetching water. The next morning, the forester got up very early, leaving the children still in bed. Okay. Then said Lina to Fundevogel, "Never forsake me, and I will never forsake thee." And Fundevogel answered, "I will never forsake thee." Then Lina said, "I must tell thee now, old Sana brought in so many pails of water last night that I asked her what she was doing. She said if I would not tell anybody, she would tell me what it was for. So I promised not to tell anybody. And she said that in the morning, when the father had gone out hunting, she would fill the kettle, and when it was boiling, she would throw thee into it and boil thee. Now we must get up quickly, dress ourselves, and run away." So the children got up, dressed quickly, and left the house. When the water boiled, the cook went into their bedroom to fetch Fundevogel to throw him into it. But when she entered the room and went up to the bed, both the children were gone. She was terribly frightened and said to herself, "Whatever am I to say to the forester when he comes home and finds the children gone? We must hurry after them and get them back." So the cook dispatched three men servants to catch up the children and bring them back. The children were sitting near a wood, and when they saw the three men a great way off, Lina said to Fundevogel, "Do not forsake me, and I will never forsake thee." And Fundevogel answered, "I will never forsake thee as long as I live." Then Lina said, "Thou must turn into a rose bush, and I will be a rosebud upon it." When the three men reached the wood, they found nothing but a rose bush with one rosebud on it. No children were to be seen. They said to each other, "There is nothing to be done here." And they went home and told the cook that they had seen nothing whatever but a rose bush with one rosebud on it. The old cook scolded them and said, "You boobies, you ought to have hacked the rose bush to pieces, broken off the bud, and brought it home to me. Off with you at once and do it." So they had to start off again on the search. But the children saw them a long way off, and Lina said to Fundevogel, "Do not forsake me, and I will never forsake thee." Fundevogel said, "I will never forsake thee as long as I live." Then said Lina, "Thou must become a church, and I will be the chandelier in it." Now, when the three men came up, they found nothing but a church with a chandelier in it. And they said to each other, "What are we to do here? We had better go home again." When they reached the house, the cook asked if they had not found anything. They said, "Nothing but a church with a chandelier in it." "You fools!" screamed the cook. "Why did you not destroy the church and bring me the chandelier?" Then the old cook put her best foot foremost and started herself with the three men in pursuit of the children. But the children saw the three men in the distance and the old cook waddling behind them. Then said Lina, "Fundevogel, do not forsake me, and I will never forsake thee." And he said, "I will never forsake thee as long as I live." Lina said, "Thou must become a pond, and I will be the duck swimming upon it." Oh no. When the cook reached the pond, she lay down beside it to drink it up. But the duck swam quickly forward, seized her head with his bill, and dragged her under water. So the old witch was drowned. Then the children went home together as happily as possible. And if they are not dead yet, then they are still alive. Okay. I like this story so much. Oh my god, so many interesting stories. Oh, I like it. I like it. Like you would think this woman, you know, let me go with them. I will know. I will know it. Like she did not even think at all. Like, and I like Lina. Lina is so special. This time she made that. She made Funvogel the pond, yeah, and herself the duck. You know, so funny. The woman did not even notice anything. It's so funny. I like it. The story was interesting. I was like captivated. Should we read this one? It's the Valiant Tailor. This one is a very long story. Oh. Should we read it? Let's read another one. This one is very long. Okay. Now, the famous Hansel and Gretel. Bye. This is like the grim version, yeah. So I'm hoping to see something new. Let me see. Also, these illustrations are freaking scary. Oh. Like there's this one. Like this is just a picture. I don't think it's connected to the story, but look at this woman here, or this creature here. Very sinister. Yeah. Oh my god. Yes. Okay. Okay. Um. Let's read Hansel and Gretel. Close to a large forest, there lived a but like people already know Hansel and Gretel. Yeah. Let's not read a popular one. Let's read a unique one. Although all these fairy tales are, you know, fairy tales are very widely known already. Okay, there's this one now. Mother Holder. Holder. I've never heard of that name before. There was once a widow who had two daughters. One of them was beautiful and industrious. The other was ugly and lazy. She liked the ugly, lazy one best because she was her own daughter. The other one had all the rough work and was made the Cinderella at home. Okay, so maybe this is a Cinderella story. The poor girl had to sit in the street by a well, spinning till her fingers bled. Now, one day, her bobbin got some blood upon it, and she stooped down to the well to rinse it, but it fell out of her hand into the water. She cried and ran to tell her stepmother of her misfortune. Her stepmother scolded her violently and without mercy, and at last said, "If you have let the bobbin fall into the water, you must go in after it and fetch it out." The maiden went back to the well and did not know what to do, and in her terror she sprang into the water to try and find the bobbin. I think the bobbin is a pin, a weaving pin. She lost consciousness, and when she came to herself, she was in a beautiful meadow dotted with flowers, and the sun was shining brightly. She walked on till she came to a baker's oven full of bread. The loaves called out to her, "Oh, draw us out, or we shall burn. We are overbaked already." So she went up and drew them out, one by one with a baker's shovel. Then she went a little further and came to an apple tree covered with apples, which called out to her, "Oh, shake us down, we are overripe." So she shook the tree, and the apples fell like rain. She shook till there were no more left. And when she had gathered them all into a heap, went on her way. At last she came to a little house out of which an old woman was looking. She had very large teeth, and the maiden was so frightened that she wanted to run away. I'm coming. Let me close this door. One thing you can depend on in this country is that there will be noise. Doesn't matter what time it is, there will be noise. And again, the noise is making me feel like I have to shout. At last she came to a little house, out of which an old woman was looking. She had very large teeth, and the maiden was so frightened that she wanted to run away. But the old woman called her and said, "What are you afraid of, dear child? Stay with me, and if you can do all kinds of housework well, I shall be very pleased. But you must be very particular how you make my bed. It must be thoroughly shaken so that the feathers fly, and then it snows in the world. I am Mother Huldah." This woman's face is scared. Look at the illustration. Okay, the old woman here. I don't know if you can see. And this is Cinderella, I guess. I am Mother Huldah. As the old woman spoke so kindly to her, she took heart and agreed to stay, and she began her duties at once. She did everything to the old woman's satisfaction, and she shook up the bed with such a will that the feathers flew about like snow. So she led a very happy life. She had no hard words, but good food, both roast and boiled, every day. Now, after she had been some time with Mother Huldah, she grew sad. Okay, something about Mother Huldah noticed, like according to a Hessian legend, when it snows, Mother Huldah is making her bed. Now, after she had been some time with Mother Huldah, she grew sad. At first, she did not know what was the matter, but at last she discovered that she was homesick. Although everything here was 1,000 times nicer than at home, still she had a yearning to go back. At last she said to the old woman, "Although I had nothing but misery at home, and happy as I have been here, still I must go back to my own people." Mother Huldah said, "I am pleased that you asked to go home, and as you have been so faithful to me, I will take you back myself." She took her by the hand and led her to a great gate. The gate was opened, and as the maiden was passing through, a heavy shower of gold fell upon her and remained sticking, so that she was covered from head to foot with it. "This is your reward, because you have been so industrious," said Mother Huldah. She also gave her back her bobbin, which had fallen into the well. Then the gate was shut, and the maiden found herself in the upper ward, not far from her mother's house. When she reached the courtyard, the cock was sitting on the well, and he cried, "Our golden maid, I see, has now come home to me." Then she went into her mother, and as she was bedecked with gold, she was well received by both her mother and sister. The maiden told them all that had happened to her. And when her mother heard how she had got all her wealth, she wanted her ugly, lazy daughter to have the same. Of course she does. So she made her sit by the well and spin, so that there should be blood upon her bobbin. She scratched her finger and thrust her hand into a black thorn bush. Then she threw the bobbin into the water and jumped in after it. She found herself in the same beautiful meadow and walked along the same path. When she reached the baker's oven, the loaves called out again, draw us out, or we shall be burnt." Then the lazy girl answered, "I should soil my fingers," and went on. So she came to the apple tree, and all the apples cried, shake us down, we are all ripe." "A fine business indeed," she answered. "One of you might fall upon my head," and she passed on. When she came to Mother Huldah's house, she was not afraid of her big teeth, as she had heard all about them, and she immediately hired herself to the old woman. The first day she made a great effort. She was industrious and obeyed the orders Mother Huldah gave her, for she thought of all the gold. But on the second day, even, she began to be lazy, and on the third she was still more so. She would not get up in the morning, nor did she make Mother Huldah's bed as she ought, nor shake it till the feathers came out. Mother Huldah soon grew tired of this and discharged her. The lazy girl was well enough pleased to go, and thought now the shower of gold would come. Mother Huldah conducted her to the same gate, but when she passed through, a shower of pitch fell upon her instead of the shower of gold. "That is the reward for your service," said Mother Huldah as she shut the gate behind her. So the lazy girl went home, but she was quite covered with pitch, and when the rooster on the well saw her, he cried, "Our dirty maid, I see, has now come back to me." The pitch stuck to her as long as she lived. She could never get rid of it. That illustration is so comical, yeah? Look at her walking back home covered in pitch. I like this book. Eh? Also, this is kind of straightforward. Yeah. The story is straightforward. Also, like there are a lot of popular like fairy tales. The next one now is Red Riding Hood, which I don't want to read. Everybody knows the story. I'll probably just read it in my own private time, yeah. And then there's the Robber Bridegroom now. That's another story. After this one, I think I'll end end our story time, storytelling, yeah. But so far, I've been reading interesting ones. So. The Robber Bridegroom. There was once a miller who had a beautiful daughter. When she grew up, he wanted to have her married and settled. He thought, if a suitable bridegroom come and ask for my daughter, I will give her to him. Soon after, a suitor came who appeared to be rich, and as the miller knew nothing against him, he promised his daughter to him. The maiden, however, did not like him as a bride or to like her bridegroom, nor had she any faith in him. Whenever she looked at him or thought about him, a shudder came over her. One day he said to her, "You are my betrothed, and yet you have never been to see me." The maiden answered, "I don't even know where your house is." Then the bridegroom said, "My house is in the depth of the forest." She made excuses and said she could not find the way. The bridegroom answered, "Next Sunday you must come and see me without fail. I have invited some other guests, and so that you may be able to find the way, I will strew some ashes to guide you." When Sunday came and the maiden was about to start, she was frightened, though she did not know why. So that she should be sure of finding her way back, she filled her pocket with peas and lentils. At the entrance to the forest, she found the track of ashes and followed it. But every step or two, she scattered a few peas right and left. She walked nearly the whole day, right into the midst of the forest where it was almost dark. Here she saw a solitary house, which she did not like. It was so dark and dismal. She went in but found nobody, and there was dead silence. Suddenly a voice cried, turn back, thou bonny bride, nor in this house of death abide." The maid looked up and saw that the voice came from a bird in a cage hanging on the wall. Once more it made the same cry, turn back, thou bonny bride, nor in this house of death abide." The beautiful bride went from room to room all over the house, but they were all empty. Not a soul was to be seen. At last she reached the cellar, and there she found an old woman with a shaking head. "Can you tell me if my bridegroom lives here?" "Alas, poor child," answered the old woman, "little dost thou know where thou art. Thou art in a murderer's den. Though thou thought thou was about to be married, but death will be thy marriage. See here, I have had to fill this kettle with water, and when they have thee in their power, they will kill thee without mercy, cook and eat thee, for they are eaters of human flesh. Unless I take pity on thee and save thee, thou art lost." Then the old woman led her behind a great cask where she could not be seen. "Be as quiet as a mouse," she said. "Don't stir or all will be lost. Tonight when the murderers are asleep, we will fly. I have long waited for an opportunity." Hardly had she said this when the riotous crew came home. They dragged another maiden with them, but as they were quite drunk, they paid no attention to her shrieks and lamentations. They gave her wine to drink, 3 glasses full, red, white, and yellow. After she had drunk them, she fell down dead. The poor bride, hidden behind the cask, was terrified. She trembled and shivered, for she saw plainly to what fate she was destined. One of the men noticed a gold ring on the little finger of the murdered girl, and as he could not pull it off, he took an axe and chopped the finger off. But it sprang up into the air and fell right into the lap of the bride behind the cask. The man took a light to look for it, but he could not find it. One of the others said, "Have you looked behind the cask?" But the old woman called out, "Come and eat and leave the set till tomorrow. The finger won't run away." The murderer said, "The old woman is right," and they gave up the search and sat down to supper. But the old woman dropped a sleeping draught in their wine, so they soon lay down and went to sleep and snored lustily. When the bride heard them snoring, she came out from behind the cask, but she was obliged to step over the slippers as they lay in rows upon the floor. She was dreadfully afraid of touching them, but God helped her, and she got through without mishap. This is the old woman and the girl leaving the house here. This is the illustration of it. Very spooky. The old woman went with her and opened the door, and they hurried away as quickly as they could from this vile den. All the ashes had been blown away by the wind, but the peas and lentils had taken root and shot up and showed them the way in the moonlight. They walked the whole night and reached the mill in the morning. The maiden told her father all that she had been through. When the day had been fixed for the wedding came, the bridegroom appeared, and the miller invited all his friends and relations. As they sat at table, each one was asked to tell some story. The bride was very silent, but when it came to her turn, and the bridegroom said, "Come, my love, have you nothing to say? Pray tell us something," she answered. "I will tell you a dream I have had. I was walking alone in a wood, and I came to a solitary house where not a soul was to be seen. A cage was hanging on the wall of one of the rooms, and in it there was a bird which cried, 'Turn back, thou burning bride, nor in this house of death abide.' He repeated the same words twice. This was only a dream, my love. I walked through all the rooms, but they were all empty and dismal. At last, I went down the cellar, and there sat a very old woman with a shaking head. I asked her, 'Does my bridegroom live here?' She answered, 'Alas, you poor child, you are in a murderer's den. Your bridegroom indeed lives here, but he will cut you to pieces, cook you, and eat you.' This was only a dream, my love." Then the old woman hid me behind a cask, and hardly had she done so when the murderers came home, dragging a maiden with them. They gave her three kinds of wine to drink: red, white, and yellow. And after drinking them, she fell down dead. My love, I was only dreaming this. Then they took her things off and cut her to pieces. My love, I was only dreaming. One of the murderers saw a gold ring on the girl's little finger, and as he could not pull it off, he chopped off the finger. But the finger bounded into the air and fell behind the cask onto my lap. Here is the finger with the ring. At these words, she produced the finger and showed it to the company. When the bridegroom heard these words, he turned as pale as ashes and tried to escape. But the guests seized him and handed him over to justice, and he and all his band were executed for their crimes. Okay, that is funny. I like how she was like, "My love, I was only dreaming this. My love, I was only dreaming this." Okay, so I'm going to stop here because, like, I've read a lot of stories, and I think that's enough. Yeah. So. Thank you for spending time with me today, as usual. And I also want to say that maybe later, much later in the evening, after I have taken a break or something, I might still come back on live. Anyways, if not, you'll still see me here tomorrow. Thank you for spending this time with me, my moderator. Thank you, Code. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next live. Have a wonderful rest of your day, okay? So, subscribe. Bye bye. Bye bye.